Hi BookTube, it's Missy, and today I'm here to share with you guys my Hook and Read Part 5. It's been a while since I've done one of these, and now that it's summertime and this is the time when I usually purge my shelves for things that I don't want anymore, I've decided to do another Hook and Read Unhaul video, this being these 6 books here. I have a ton of books that I definitely want to do a Hook and Read for, but these 6 are going to be for now. Now, back when I first started BookTube in 2014, Book Outlet was the rage, and it still is. I absolutely love it still, but I tend to be more precise with my buying of books instead of just looking at stuff and just throwing it in my cart, or seeing a book that's on someone else's shelf and then throwing it in my cart. So with these 6 books that I'm going to share with you, I either saw them on other booktubers' shelves, or at that point in time I was very interested in supernatural just supernatural books in general. I still really enjoy ghosts, which is more paranormal, and I absolutely still love vampires, but fairies, angels, werewolves, those kinds of things I am not interested in reading anymore. And so with these 6 books, I want to go through them, find out through a Hook and Read whether or not it even sounds interesting, and if it doesn't, I'm just going to get rid of the entire series, because again, back in 2014, I thought it would be a brilliant idea to just buy all of these books in series instead of in singular form, find out if I even liked the first book or not, and then continue on. So with that being said, if you've never seen a Hook and Read before, what it is basically I'm going to either read the first paragraph or sometimes even the first page to kind of hook you and myself in to whether or not this book is even worth the time to read. In school, in 3rd grade in general, our main focus is teaching kids how to write essays, and that is one of the things we teach is a hook. If you don't have a hook in your first, couple not paragraphs, but your first paragraph, if you don't have a hook, the person who's reading your report might not be interested in reading it. So with that being said, let's get on with the video. The first one I have here is called Wondrous Strange by Leslie Livingston. I have the entire trilogy. I saw this on Katie Tastic's bookshelves forever ago and thought, oh, I definitely need to buy this. This is a Faerie series, and this is YA. A lot of the books that I purchased back in 2014 were YA. I still really enjoy YA, but at the same time, I'm like starting to move out of it. YA to me is more fluff, and not that I read hard-hitting books, because I only read for entertainment purposes, but sometimes the teenage angst gets to me, especially now that I'm almost 40. I'm just like, shut up and stop complaining. You have nothing to complain about. You haven't even lived yet. You don't even know what you're talking about. Have you had a marriage, children, a career? No. Stop complaining that your homework is lost and you're failing a grade, yada, yada, yada. Don't care. So it kind of drives me crazy. All right. This one has a cool little thing in the front, which I'll show you. So we have Kelly's script here. I don't know if you can see that properly. And it is for A Midsummer Night's Dream by William Shakespeare. It says, please return, this means you. Too much glitter, check with Mindy, yada, yada, yada. It's just like a rehearsal kind of thing. I used to be super obsessed with A Midsummer Night's Dream by Shakespeare, and I really, really enjoyed the one where Michelle Pfeiffer is the queen, Tatiana, of the fairies. And so one of my buzzwords in my YA books that I was purchasing was anything that have to do with A Midsummer Night's Dream. If some kid was going to be a part of the play, or the play was going to come to life. So I was always interested in reading that. Now on the back, it doesn't say anything about A Midsummer Night's Dream, but it must have been on Goodreads. and that's why I purchased it. I'm not sure. This one came out in 2009. Let's just start with chapter 1, and there is a little doodle. Very nice, very nice. The font is average. All right. What do you mean promoted? Kelly Winslow felt her pulse quicken. It was the 5th week of rehearsals for the Avalon Grande's production of Shakespeare's A Midsummer Night's Dream. Never mind that Avalon Players, a third-tier repertory company so far off Broadway it might as well have been in Hoboken, had only hired Kelly as an understudy, which really meant glorified stagehand. It was her first real job as an actress after a disastrous stint in theater school, and at only 17. Kelly had been grateful for the resume builder, but today, 3 steps into the theater, Mindy, the stage manager, had waylaid her. Kelly was carrying a box of props, had gone to fetch from the company van parked outside, and she had a pair of fairy wings strapped to her shoulders. The only way she could carry them without crushing the wire frames. "Mindy," she asked again, "what do you mean?" "I mean, don't bother taking off the wings, kid." Mindy took the box of props from her hand. "Our darling Diva de Winter just busted her ankle. She's out of commission. And that means little understudy will be stepping into the lead role of Tatiana, the Fairy Queen, for the run of this show." Kelly was speechless. She dreamed of this, although however many times she'd sat through rehearsals watching Barbara de Winter overact and overcharm her way through her scenes, she'd never wished anything bad upon her. But Kelly guiltily felt a rising sense of glee. This is it! This is my big break! So, do I want to continue reading this? Yes! I don't know why. I kind of had a feeling I would, especially since it had that little thing in the front, because the other books also have this, like, play in it, and so what do you guys think? Does this sound like something that you would want to read? I want to know what happens. Does she actually turn into a fairy? This is what happened back in 2014. Like, I was so excited because I had just gotten over Wings, the series by April Lynn Pike wrote the Wings series, and I just read those on my Kindle. Well, not just. I bought a Kindle in 2011, and I think I got those books around that time, like 2012. And so I got super excited about reading fairy books and angel books, and I was like, oh, there's like a whole thing, and then there was the Hush Hush, and then just all of this nonsense, right? Yes. So I'm starting to get sucked back in. Okay, probably not that bad. And it's only, let's see, 327 pages. That's doable. This, however, this is called Illuminate by Amy Agresti. This is a Gilded Wings novel, book 1. I don't like people on my covers. It is humongous. The font is small. It's about 8, 9, I would say. The thing that got me off of this one is it says, part the picture of Dorian Gray, part the Devil Wears Prada. Like, how does that even go together? Like, I love Dorian Gray. It's, you know, calculating and diabolical, and there's this guy who's like super, you know, vain and wants to be gorgeous forever, and but he's playing with fire because, you know, of the painting and everything. And then there's The Devil Wears Prada, where there's this, you know, if you've watched the movie, Anne Hathaway comes in a bumbling idiot, doesn't know anything about fashion, then, you know, gets taken up under that guy, I don't know his name, and then she starts realizing, okay, well, if I want to make a good impression on my boss, because she hates me, I might as well start doing the right thing. And so that man helps her get dressed, and then she starts having, you know, a better time. But then she gets so full of herself. So maybe this book is about greed and vanity. Maybe. I don't know. Oh, I didn't notice that there's like a slight wing shadow behind her. Anywho, God, on the back it says, "Move over, Twilight." So Haven Terra is our main character, and she's supposed to be an angel, I guess. I am not looking forward to this. And this one just so happens to be a book that I never bought the rest of the series. Thank goodness. So let's check it out. This one came out in 2012. All right, let's skip the little doodad that comes before chapter 1. Oh, we are. Chapter 1, A Rare Opportunity. Up until that point, English class had been unremarkable. We were halfway through The Picture of Dorian Gray. Mrs. Harris, with her voluminous behind, precariously perched on the front of her stained wooden desk, scanned the room searching for flickers of comprehension, or, at the very least, consciousness. In a sea of clueless faces, I slid down in my seat, letting my long, wispy hair, still damp from my morning encounter with the winter's sloppy, wet sleet, fall around the sides of my face, trying to hide. I've never much been one for participation. I generally know the answers. I just don't appreciate the attention that comes from knowing them. Answer correctly, and you have farther cemented your reputation as a brainy, hopeless outcast. Answer incorrectly, and not only are you considered a bookish nerd, but now you're even bad at that. It was a lose-lose situation. So I read ahead in the book, tuning her out, glancing up every now and then to the clock above the chalkboard or to the windows where blustery, chalk-white skies hung over another frigid January day. Evanston, Illinois, the tundra that was the greater Chicago area, would likely look this way until April, but it never bothered me so much. I liked the way that braving its wind-whipping wrath could make a person, even someone as easily tossed around as me, feel stronger. So let's talk about the nature of good, evil, and hedonism, the teacher droned on. At the mention of hedonism, on reflex, my eyes darted 2 rows in front of me. Buzz-cropped Jason Ambington, wearing his basketball jersey number 9 to advance the big game this weekend, nibbled on the cap of a blue ballpoint pen. My blue ballpoint pen. Somewhere inside my stomach, swarms of butterflies fluttered from their cocoons. It was for this very reason that the front outside pocket of my backpack bulged at all times with scores of these pens, which I had optimistically bought in bulk. Jason never seemed to have his own, and he had asked to borrow one from me weeks ago, and then again, and now this is what I had become to him, a purveyor of pens. At the desk beside him, a blonde creature, his blonde creature, named Courtney, twirled her artfully hot-rolled, bodacious curls. Bodacious. This is what boys like him were conditioned to expect. This wasn't me, and I couldn't imagine it ever would be, regardless of what magical metamorphosis one was expected to undergo during high school. It was a work in progress, but I had no reason to believe the finished product would ever be quite like that. Oh Lord, I'm so bored. I don't even care. So we have giant words, and not even giant, just words that I am unable to say quickly in a book. So I'm like tripping over my own tongue. And then we have bodacious, which is ridiculous because this came out in 2012. Nobody says that anymore. And I'm not interested. So this stupid girl who doesn't think that she can live up to the bodacious locks of Courtney continues to bring a bulk full of pens to school so that she can get the attention of this doofus. I don't care. If you guys have read this book and you think I should definitely keep it, let me know down below. Otherwise, you can totally have this one. Alright, next we have By These 10 Bones by Claire B. Dunkel. I believe I read something by her before. Let me look. Because I think it was a ghosty book, and I actually kind of liked that one, but I did give it away. Claire B. Dunkel. Yep. I read The House of Dead Maids. Let me show you a picture. See that? House of Dead Maids. I read this a while back. A chilling prelude to Wuthering Heights. I've never read Wuthering Heights, so I don't know if it was a chilling prelude, but I did read it, and it was okay. I gave it 4 stars. Did I give it 4? Yep. Oh, it says, I have a PS at the end of my review. Goodreads says this is a YA book, but the main characters, like I said, are middle grade. I think middle graders could read this. It's not really that scary. Alright, so with that being said, this is a standalone. Since I did read this author before, I'm hoping that this one is as good. I mean, people on BookTube tend to rate their books right after reading them, and then after a while they go back and they say, well, you know, I don't even remember that book anymore, so maybe I should knock a star off. Or they'll talk about the book and they're like, oh my gosh, I only gave it 3 stars. I remember everything from that book, and actually I had a great time reading it. So, and then they bump up the stars. So we'll see how I like this author. Oh, yes. The font is bigger. There is also a prologue, which I will be skipping. And this came out in 2005. All right, chapter 1. We have this, like, I don't know, a rope or a braid or a twist up at the top. In the far northern hills of Scotland, a grey castle stood by a narrow lake, or a loch, as it is properly called. Some castles are grand and beautiful, but this one was not. It was too small to be grand, for one thing. Being the simplest type of castle, it had no moat, although its builders knew it had a natural defence. The waters of the loch at its back and swampy ground to the front. It had no palisade enclosing a fortified courtyard or lofty battlements. It was merely a large rectangular stone building 3 floors high, with narrow windows through which an archer could safely shoot his foes. Carved into the rock floor of the lowest level was a primitive dungeon cell, no more than a hole, and resting above the highest level was a wooden roof that no longer kept out all the rain. A round tower clung to one corner, housing a rough spiral stair. The wide doorway that opened into this tower lacked a door. No guard stood there, and no watchdogs barked. A clan chief had once lived there with his family and warriors, but he had lost his valley in battle long ago. A strange old woman occupied his castle now, to the disgust of those few of his distant kin who still farmed the fields nearby. A girl, just old enough to be thought a young woman, stood inside the tower doorway and wished that the castle still had a door to close. She was dressed in the plainest of blouses, a drab skirt that tied with a lace, and a voluminous woolen wrap that looked like a long, narrow blanket. This blanket, looped around the waist and pulled over one shoulder, was the most important clothing of the day. Hers was checkered and crossed by lines and squares of yellow, gray, and brown. If it was somewhat better made than the blankets her neighbors wore, this showed only that the local weaver had his preferences. Maddie could be considered a strong favorite of his. She was his only child. So this hasn't hooked me yet, but I am intrigued, not because of the simple language, just because I like Scotland, and I'm interested in knowing what happened to the castle. And also that this is a standalone, so it might be really good. It says there's hidden places all over this land, old places, places with a chain to them, for to chain up the wolf when it's time. That kind of reminds me of, a little bit of Vampire Diaries when Tyler had to go down to the crypt or whatever and chain himself up. Interesting. Alright, well, because I have read this author before, this is a standalone. It's quick reading, which means that it might, you know, be easy for me. Sometimes I want an easy book, especially if I'm going in between other harder and longer books. So, yeah, I think I'll keep that one along with the Faerie book. Next, we have this dandy, and this is the first book in another series by Dawn Metcalf. Metcalf. It's called Indelible, and this is the Twixt series, book 1. This is also a angel book, I believe. We'll see. Ooh, this is a different font. All right, so this came out in 2013. The dedication right here, let me just kind of go on a tangent for a second. I was reading an article, I don't know if it was from BuzzFeed or where it came from. Maybe it was Book Riot. I don't know. But they were talking about dedications from authors, and I always wanted to like go through my books and discuss funny ones. Because normally it's just like, oh, to my mom and dad, or oh, to my daughter, yada, yada, yada. This one's funny. It says, to Maestro and the pig-tailed overlord, Mommy loves you. So that must be her children. I really like that. All right. I've never read that before on the, you know, the page that has publication and all that stuff. It says, if you purchase this book without a cover, you should be aware that this book is stolen property. It was reported as unsold and destroyed to the publisher, and neither the author nor the publisher has received any payment for this stripped book. Yeah, any respectable reader would not buy a book that had no cover to it, unless it was from Goodwill and it was 10 cents or free. All right, next. So we have our first chapter. There's a little rose right there. And the font is, can you see that? It's skinny. It's not a traditional font that I usually see. Okay. The music beat hard against Joy's ribs. She could feel the rhythm in her chest and the bass in her teeth. The carousel spun slowly, crammed with mirrors and frantic dancers. It was dark. It was light. It was dark. It was light. Joy felt the music call to her, dizzying and loud. Isn't this great? Monica shouted next to Joy's ear. They stood just inside the nimbus of carnival lights and techno grind. Behind them, the tilt-a-whirl roared. Joy nodded. It's wild! Well, come on, wild child. Time for fun! Monica loved fun, and Joy loved her for it. Despite the craziness of the past year, Monica had stuck by her. So even if Joy wasn't too sure about going to the spring fair among several dozen rabid, cool hunters prowling the carousel on the green, she wasn't about to ruin it. Instead of ballroom dancing classes or community theater in the round, the carousel was attempting to become Glendale's hottest indoor-outdoor scene. Some people pumped their fists in the air and smartphones caught the rave on glowing screens. Joy checked hers for the time. Well, fun better get started. Dad's only letting me stay out until 11. Yuck. Let's just read one more page because, ew. Monica snorted and smoothed the edges of her razor-cut bob. You'd think you were the only one who skipped out. Then she winced and whispered, sorry. Joy shrugged. It's okay. I hate that. It's okay. It's okay. Can you see it? Where is it? Where is it? There we go. S-okay. It's okay. Nobody says that. Lots of parents split after their last kid went off to college. Mom could have waited 2 years before running off to LA, but by then, her 26-year-old graphic artist, Doug, might have been considered too old for a cougar like her. As she tried to explain before she left, she had needs. The memory still brought an embarrassed ache, but no tears. Joy had cried herself out months ago. Nowadays, she half expected Mom to reappear when her boy toy turned 30. Come on! Monica tugged Joy up the incline. Party's wasting! They held hands and jumped onto the crowded dance floor. The old hardwood shivered, rotating slowly on merry-go-round gears. The carousel was packed, but Monica nabbed a spot beneath the peeling brass ring. The only original piece left after the horses had been auctioned off. Joy edged toward the speakers as the carousel turned. The town fair fell into a purple shadow rimmed in fairy lights. Joy moved her hips and shoulders, enjoying the thump of the music. Closing her eyes, she felt strangers' laughter bubble up inside her, as if it were her own, and she popped her heels to the beat. Her ponytail brushed the back of her neck, alternately sticky and cool. Hands ringed in glow bracelets and under 18 wristbands clutched empty cotton candy cones and miniature teddy bears. The air smelled of hot sugar, cooking oil, and sweat. Distant roller coaster screams echoed somewhere out in the glow of 1,000 twinkling carnival lights. It was like swimming in a dream world, floating in noise. You lost me. Don't want to read it. Again, if you think this is amazing, let me know down below. Maybe it's a fairy book and not a angel book. I can't remember. It says on the back, Joy Malone learns this the night she sees a stranger with all black eyes across a crowded room right before the mystery boy tries to cut out her eye. That sounds cool, but no. I don't want it. Next. All right, next we have this one, Meridian. I also believe that this was on Katie Tastic's shelves. I bought the entire series, but this is by Amber Kaiser. For some reason, the first book came as a turtle hardback, but the other ones have dust jackets. I don't mind like library binded hardbacks like this, but at the same time I do. I kind of hate them. So anyways, Rich and Hauntingly Lovely, Meridian is a powerful story. I'm just going to read the back really quick. My world was and is me and death. It's a lonely place to live, but I thought things were getting better. My name is Meridian Suzo, and I was wrong. All right. Let's see what it's like on the inside. So I'm keeping 2, getting rid of 2. Ooh, I like this illustration. Yes, yes. Wow. That's a pretty long dedication. This was, this came out in 2009. We have acknowledgements, the little yada yada. All right, Meridian. Oh, we're skipping the prologue. Wow. That's some giant font. Okay. I believe this is another fairy book, but I don't know for sure. I got up the morning of December 21st, anticipating a 4-day weekend for the Christmas holiday. I went to a snotty private prep school that took breaks the way most people went to the dentist, only when they really had to, which was why I had school on the 21st, my 16th birthday. My parents refused to let me skip. It was a typical normal day. For me, normal meant that my stomach churned so much I swallowed Tums by the roll and never went anywhere without Advil. Yikes. I used Visine to keep my eyes clear. Without it, looking in the mirror meant seeing the eyes of a lifetime alcoholic. I kept a stash of Ace... What the hell? I kept a stash of Ace bandages and braces in my locker at school. I coped. I studied. I kept up the facade. But I desperately needed a break. Time to sleep late. Time to eat too much and catch up on painting my nails with glitter. Time to stop faking it and be myself. Even if no one noticed, time to dye my hair again. Currently, it was the obnoxious red of tomato juice. I figured black would be a nice way to start the new year. It fit my mood. There were also a bunch of new DVDs I wanted to watch. Movies about girls my age, having crushes and friends, and being absolutely, completely normal. I tucked my requisite white cotton blouse into my perfectly pleated tartan skirt. I applied thick black eyeliner and 3 coats of mascara, as if I could make the bruises beneath my eyes an accessory. Then painted on clear lip gloss. I tugged at the opaque tights I wore, pushing our dress code to the limits. I didn't mind uniforms. At least I was part of a group for once in my life, but I hated looking like little Lolita. I stared at my reflection, hoping to see answers, wishing I saw the solution to my life. The phone shrilled. Once. Twice. I tossed my toothbrush into the sink and grabbed the hallway extension. The phone never rang for me, but I always answered it, hoping. Hello? Silence. Breathing. Murmuring. Hello? I repeated. Mom appeared at the top of the stairs. Who is it? Concern deepened the line on her face, aging her. I shrugged at her, shook my head. Hello? She yanked the phone cord out of the wall, breathing fast, suddenly wild-eyed and pale. Dad raced up the stairs, clearly just as upset. Another one? Mom's fist clenched the cord and she fiercely wrenched it from my arms. What the hell? What's going on? I let her hold me as she caught her breath. My dad kept petting my hair. For the last 5 years, they hadn't touched me except for accidents or unavoidables. Now they didn't seem to want to let go. It started. Dad was the first to step away. What started? I pushed away as the downstairs phone rang. We'll talk more after school. You have a big test today. I recognized the stubborn expression on Mom's face. Dad pressed her shoulders, rubbed her neck, like he always did when she was upset. I think we should. No, not yet, not yet, Mom chanted. What's going on? I felt fear sizzle in my spine. Rosie? Dad cradled Mom's cheek with one hand and reached for me. After school, Mom said firmly. Be careful today, extra careful. Why don't you just tell me why? I asked. Is this about turning 16? I can wait to get my license for a few months. I mean, I'd like to drive, but if you're this scared, we can talk about it. Mom smoothed my hair, shaking her head. After school. I shrugged, looked to my father for guidance. His expression told me he wouldn't break rank. Is it boys? I'm not dating. It's not like there's a guy. Mom cut me off. Do you want pancakes? I never eat breakfast. No, that's okay. I should catch the bus or I'll be late. What else can there be? My grades are excellent. Oh my God. Shit. I don't know. Her annoyance with her parents is pretty interesting. The fact that her parents are being very weird is interesting. I think I will give it to the first 5 chapters. We'll see. That's 2 to 3. All right, the last one that I'm going to share with you guys is Bones of Faerie by Janie Lee Simmer, another book series that I believe was on Katie Tastic's bookshelves. Literally, in 2014, it was all Katie Tastic all the time. Like, that's all I watched. She had such amazing bookshelves, and she was funny, and I liked the way she, did her stuff. But then, after years of watching her, I realized I just can't anymore because she's just too mainstream. There's nothing wrong with being super popular, but it was just the same books over and over again, like with her and Poland Bananas and Jessie the Reader, and they were just all reading the exact same books, and it was starting to get boring because I don't like those kinds of books normally. I'll like, every once in a while I'll like a really big book that comes out that everyone's talking about, but the majority of the time I stick with my thrillers and my horror, and that's not what Katie Tastic reads. So with that being said, let's try Bones of Faerie. I have the first 2 books. I never purchased the 3rd one, so that might be a good thing. I don't know. This one came out in 2009, and it says for Larry 3333, 4556, 5645. But you knew that, right? That's a weird dedication. Is that the combination lock to a safe deposit box? Chapter 1. I had a sister once. She was a beautiful baby, eyes silver as moonlight off the river at night. From the hour of her birth she was long-limbed and graceful, fairy pale hair clear as glass from before, so pale you could almost see through to the soft skin beneath. My father was a sensible man. He sat her out on the hillside that very night, though my mother wept and even old Jace argued against it. If the fairy folk want her, let him take her, Father said. If not, the fault's theirs for not claiming one of their own. He left my sister, and he never looked back. I did. I crept out before dawn to see whether the fairies had really come. They hadn't, but some wild creature had. One glance was all I could take. I turned and ran for home, telling no one where I'd been. We were lucky that time, I knew. I'd heard tales of a woman who bore a child with a voice high and sweet as a bird's song, and with the sharp claws to match. No one questioned that baby's father when he set the child out to die, far from our town, far from where his wife lay dying, her insides torn and bleeding. Magic was never meant for our world, Father said, and of course I'd agreed, though the war had ended and the fairy folk returned to their own places before I was born. If only they'd never stirred from those places, but it was no use thinking that way. Besides, I'd heard often enough that our town did better than most. We knew the rules. Don't touch any stone that glows with fairy light, or that light will burn you fiercer than any fire. Don't venture out alone into the dark, or the darkness will swallow you whole, and cast out the magic born among you before it can turn on its parents. Towns had died for not understanding that much. My father was a sensible man, but the memory of my sister's bones, cracked and bloody in the moonlight, haunts me still. That was the whole chapter. I don't know. What do you guys think? I'm on the fence. I like that it's small. It only has 247 pages. I also like the fact that the font is humongous, which makes it fast to read. The chapters aren't that short. The first one was only 2 pages, but the other ones seem like 5 to 10. I don't know. I'm on the fence. I'm going to put this in the maybe pile. So far we have, well, I'll just show you. So these are the 2 books that I'm going to put away. We have Illuminate by Amy Gresty and Indelible by Dawn Metcalf. So both of these books will be going into the trade away pile. I have these 3 that I'm still, you know, on the fence for. We have Meridian, I believe it's a fairy book. We have By These 10 Bones, a werewolf book, and Wondrous Strange, another fairy book. And then lastly, Bones of Faerie by Janie Lee Simner. Simner? Yeah, Simner. This is also a fairy book. I meant to get rid of all the fairy books. I guess I'm holding on to them. Yeah, let me know down below if you've read any of these books and whether or not I should definitely get rid of them because they are garbage because you've read them. Let me know if you've read these 2 and whether or not my first impression is garbage and I should keep them. All right. That is it. I hope you guys enjoyed this hook and read. Let me know anything you want down below. And yeah, thank you so much for watching. I hope you guys have a wonderful rest of your week. And I will talk to you soon.